This will never be for you, I don't think. It's going to be for the goats. What do you think about it?
Sweetness is correct. He knew from the moment he stepped into the lower barn that it would be his. Last week, we had decided to rehab and make the lower barn into a goat barn. But like any good plan in the making, it was subject to change. This weekend, as we walked back and forth between the two barns and the pasture, we realized that setting the goats up in the upper barn closer to the house and not surrounded by the forest on three sides would be safer. So we've decided we're going to fence the area around the upper barn so they have a nice little pasture to hang out during the evening hours when they aren't out wandering around the forest. Their barn is 16 by 16 feet and will have multiple benches for them to all lie on. It will feel very spacious compared to the last little barn they had. 2 birthing stalls are already in place on either side of the back door with a floor already and lights. All we need to do with them is to take out some of the siding that faces the inside and put a hog panel window so the moms can see their friends and add a hog panel gate for each. Outside of both barns, we will add a shed roof to each side with fencing around it so we can store things like the tractor and hay underneath. Both barns will have a gravel floor with thick stall mats over the top. So, what does that mean for the horses and the donkey? We've already started rehabbing the back barn for them. We'll rip out the 1970s paneling and the 2 tiny pens in the front, leaving just a 16 by 16 shell. We'll cut a doorway on the back side of the barn, which will make it a little safer with 2 escape routes instead of 1.
What's fine, honey? Well, look close over there.
What's on it? Is it alive?
I don't know. It's a squirrel tail.
Oh.
Inside, we'll install heavy, rough-cut lumber to about shoulder high, like what the upper barn has. Remove 2 lower beams up in the roof and the ceiling that are not structural, fix the corner of the roof, and then cut and frame out 3 windows, 1 for each of the horses and a lower one for little Sweetness, the mini donkey.
Look at you. Do you live in there? So we assume this is a black snake or what they call a rat snake out here. And they are the good ones. They're the ones that we want to definitely have around. They eat mice, and I suppose if they're big enough, they eat rats. You look like a bike tire. Aren't you pretty? I wish Michael were out here. He would love to see that. Call him and tell him. He's got a little blue. Do you see the little bit of blue on the bottom part of him?
Oh, look at that.
Right at the bend, right? There's a little bit, I don't know if you can see it in the video. Just a little tiny bit of light blue. You're a pretty one.
Later in the week, we continued stripping off the paneling, pulling out a bunch of pallets that lined the floor that used to be a hay barn, and taking out 1 of the 2 pins in the front of the barn. We'll get to the next one soon. Like in any demolition, we found some things we weren't happy with, like rotted wood, and eventually, as we got down to the studs, we found termites. Well, damn. And not just in some of the vertical studs, but in a sill plate as well. At least 1. We haven't stripped down that far on the others. So, this is going to take a lot more work than what we expected. Well, what's a good work session without a heavy downpour?